Tadvaram Paryaye Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruः Prachodayate Om Om Yogamanshrakta Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome to another one of our sessions where we are looking at various concepts and practices of the Geetananda tradition. We have been focusing on the Savitri Pranayama, and we have worked it into the concept of Anuloma Viloma Takriya. We have been discussing the concept of polarity, which is where we are working on transcending the dualities. When Patanjali talks about the dualities, he calls them dvandva. And this concept of duality is also found in the Bhagavad Gita, where you find the opposites, Shita and Ushna, which is the cooling and the heating, Mana, Apamana. That is where you are given praise and you are given blame. And so many concepts of the opposites, and that these dvandvas need to be transcended if we are to develop an internal sense of equanimity, equipoise, which is known as samatvam. And when we attain that, we become a truly human being who has that equipoise and is steady in that higher perspective, that higher wisdom. And such a person is called a Sthita Prajna. Sthita means stable. Like we have the word Sthiti in Samasthiti Asana, where we are trying to have in the standing position an equal balance, Sama Sthiti. That word Sthiti means stability. It means to be established in a stability that enables you not to get swayed by the pull of the opposites. Sthita. And prajna is a higher wisdom, a wisdom that comes from a higher perspective. Many sessions ago, some of you may not have been attending the session, so I'm going to repeat it. And if you were attending, you may have forgotten it. And even if you remember, well, it's good. Remember to remember, as Ammaji tells us. So, nothing wrong in repetition. One of the very important aspects when we come to this Sthita Prajna is this concept of Prajna. So, if we want to know what is Prajna, we have to realize normally in our learning, we go through a process of collecting data, collecting information. So there is a lot of information and data that is collected. We have a lot of data these days and they call it data mining. And as someone said, data is the new oil. So what happens is that we have all this data, we have all of this information, but it's like bits and pieces that are there, and if somebody says, which is the largest democracy, you say, okay, India. That's a piece of information, that's a piece of data. Which country currently has the highest number of COVID-19? Okay, USA. This is a data. Where did it all start? Well, China. Not to blame China, but that's where it started. Okay, fine. So that's data. That is information. Now the question comes, with that information, what do you do? So you start to ponder on that information, you start to work on that information, you start to chew that information, chew the cud, Is there a cow always doing that? Yeah, chew the cud. You chew on this, you ruminate on it. So when you ruminate and you chew the cud, when you chew on this information, you start to digest it. Because when you chew, the saliva starts the process of digestion. So you start to digest the information, and the information, the data, starts to become what could be called knowledge or vidya. So the word vidya as knowledge. The word for data, I'm still trying to find a Sanskrit word for it. Because, it is just information, bits and pieces. And nowadays we think if we have a lot of information, we are very wise. Huh? A computer also has a lot of information, so then the computer should be the grandmaster, the Maha Guruji. Huh? If it were just data and information, computers have much more than what any of us have. Okay. When you chew on it, when you start to ruminate on it, as you digest the information, it starts to become vidya or knowledge. As you start to apply that and experience it, you assimilate it into your own life, and it becomes part of you. That is where that vidya starts to become jnana, or it starts to become wisdom. So you have data, information becoming knowledge, knowledge becoming wisdom, depending on how much you have brought yourself into it and you have opened up to the experience of it. And then what happens, you start to grow in your perspective, and your perspective moves from the limited individuality to a unlimited universality. And as you move up your spinal cord from coming out of all that subhuman tendencies, the subhuman reflexive, reactionary, instinctive tendencies, you start to grow. And as you start to develop your intuitive, reflexive capacities and responsive capacities, that vidya starts to flower into a beautiful sense of jnana, wisdom. And as you elevate your consciousness, going beyond the question of what's in it for me, as long as you get to know something and your mind says, what's in it for me, you're not in wisdom even. What's in it for me is very much an individualistic, limited perspective. If I learn this, what will I get? You learn it for the sake of learning it. What you are going to get will come on its own accord. But nowadays it's like, if I join your course, will I get a certificate? Will that certificate be approved for CPD hours? Will it blah, 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 blah. And whenever people ask me these questions, I said, please go and find somebody else. I'll give you a link to a few others who will be able to do what you want. I am not there as a teacher to fulfill somebody's desires. That's not my business. And I'm not in the business of doing that. We need to learn for the sake of learning. And then what comes as a result of it will come. Again, the concept of nishkama karma is so apt here. And this is the same process where we are growing, where the prajna, which is the higher transcendental wisdom, the universal perspective, starts to flower. As you let go of the individuality and as you open up to your universality, the prajna, loka, opens up to you. It is a plane of consciousness where this prajna is there. It's like the universal wisdom net. Just as you connect to the internet, you connect to this. And at that point, all the universal wisdom just flows through you. You become a conduit for the universal wisdom. There's no you there anymore. Psychology has a concept of flow, which is similar to this, where there's no more you in the equation. It is just happening. You are the vehicle. You are the conduit. And this is that concept of nimitta bhava. We have a concept Narayana Bhava, Narayana Arpana Bhava, and Nimitta Bhava. Nimitta is where you are just the tool, you are just the conduit, you are just channeling that wonderful universal knowledge, that universal wisdom which belongs to no one. The universe belongs to no one. The universal wisdom belongs to no one. There are no copyrights there. Unlike what countries are doing under the Arctic Circle, where they are going and planting flags for the sake of oil. What stupidity. Claim everything, claim everything. Imagine, I always find it astonishing, and I'm going on one of my rants now, so watch out. Rant warning. Just imagine these explorers like Christopher Columbus and Captain Cook and all these crazy guys who used to go to places that already had a culture, already had living people there, put down a flag and say, I claim this in the name of my king or queen or whoever goddamn it was. Just imagine the arrogant ignorance that was there. Just put a flag down. Now imagine I come to your country. I used to tell them in Berlin. I said, imagine I land in Berlin and I put down a flag and I say, I claim this for the king. I can see my hands behind my back, my face down in the ground, being dragged by 4 policemen to the jail. You cannot do that. And that's what these guys did. These guys went to places that already had cultures, already had people, planted flags and claimed it. That's what we are doing. We are taking universal wisdom and we are claiming it to be ours. Stamping. Please realize, universal wisdom is universal. It is not individualized. And that is why Swamiji used to always laugh at the ignoramus students who would come to him and they wanted a personalized universal experience. Personalized universal experience. In the universal experience, there's no personal. It's universal. But they want a personalized universal experience. Swamiji, can you hit the top of my head with a peacock feather and give me a personalized universal experience? You know where they got hit and most probably given a kick. You know where it kicked out of the ashram for that. That was Swamiji's attitude. Yes, Gargi, the moon is also having flags planted by us human beings, claiming. It's astonishing. We cannot take care of our planet and we want to go to other planets. To do what? Destroy them also? Anyway, enough of my rant. From the concept of data, and I have something, I'm not able to read it because of the light here. Sanskrit. What is it? I am going to have to look at that later. Thank you, Arvindaji. I'll look at it later. Look at it because with the light out here, I'm not able to see the letter properly. The data becoming knowledge, becoming wisdom, becoming universal wisdom, prajna loka. And you know what? That prajna opens up when you let go of what's in it for me. And that is why yoga is not about what's in it for me. It's not about what I can get, but it's about what I can give. And if you meet new people, if you go to new places, and you have the feeling, what can I share? What can I give? Congrats, you're on the yogic path. But if you meet new people and go to new places, and the first thought that comes to you is, what can I get? Well, take another look at yourself. Your Swadhyaya selfie has to give you some information you may not like about yourself. And you have to change it. Change. You look at yourself. The Swadhyaya is not to criticize ourselves. Remember, no identification, no condemnation, no justification. But it is for the process of transformation. Swadhyaya is there for the process of transformation. That is why Patanjali tells us, Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samprayoga. You become one with your personalized divinity. People translate Ishta Devata as that aspect of the divine you like. Okay, that is at a religious level. It is actually your personalized divinity. It is the divinity that resides in you. You become one with it through Swadhyaya. Swadhyayat Ishta Devata Samprayoga. You become one with your innate divinity. That's actually what it is. Okay, so Swadhyaya is a very important tool. So coming back, Prajna. Where did this all start? Sthita Prajna. So the Bhagavad Gita says, Sthita Prajna, and there's an entire section, Sthita Prajna Darshanam. What are the qualities? Arjuna says to Krishna, what are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna? Please tell me. And then Krishna goes on, and it's amazing. It is a spiritually healthy person. A Sthita Prajna is a spiritually healthy person. If you ask me, that's the modern context in which I would put it. When we talk about spiritual health, Sthita Prajna is a spiritually healthy person. Now, who is beyond mana apamana and who has the sense of love for everybody and towards sarva bhuta, towards all living beings, having that beautiful compassion and all. It's a very beautiful quality, and I'll talk about this at some point, because it's Sthita Prajna is a amazing topic and really worth looking into, because that is what we should aspire for on the yogic path. Okay, so we were looking at Sthita Prajna. What is Sthita Prajna? Someone who has transcended the dvandva, the dualities. So the dualities do not affect them anymore because they are on the golden mean. They are balanced and they are established in a steady balance that comes from a higher state of wisdom that realizes all of this too shall pass. A place up here, this is called an eagle's perspective or a bird's eye perspective. The idea is when you go up, your whole perspective changes. And I think this is what we're going to work on today, because it doesn't look like I'm going to get to other things, but this is just so important. This is what yoga is all about. Okay, what happens here? Fine. There is a mountain. Well, any mountain it could be, but the mountains I go to, I can talk about. You have your mountains, you can talk about them. So, the mountain, for example, I used to go to Jinji. Jinji is a very nice mountain fort. And that mountain fort is a few hours from Pondicherry. And then from there, we used to go to Thiruvannamalai, Mount Arunachala. And as a kid, I went there so many times with Swamiji that I have a sense of being at home in these places. Very, very beautiful places. Now, when you are before you get to the mountain, you are going through the town, be it Jinji or be Thiruvannamalai, the noisiest place you can think of. Noisy, dirty, crowded, an assault on your senses. Your senses are assaulted. And you are like, most of the people, when you take them there, and you become like that, because that's what these towns are like. You start to climb the mountain. The sounds start to go down. You don't see the dirt so much. You start to go higher, higher, higher. And when you reach the top of the mountain, what you see is this amazing perspective, because you now have this amazing panoramic perspective, and you are no longer bothered by the sounds. You are no longer bothered by the smells, the crowding. It doesn't exist anymore. You can see the beauty that lies there. You can see the amazing symmetry that lies there. You can see the amazing aspects of nature that lie there. And you have transcended your sensory assault into a parasensory experience of equanimity. This is again going up. The senses are all the spinal. Remember? All the spinal chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata and Vishuddha are connected to your sensory apparatus, Jnanendriya and Karmendriya. So, all of that, and then you come up here. What is here? Manas, the Ekendriya, the super sense, the 11th sense. And the power of the mind is a power where you can change your perspective. So you have transcended your sensory experience into a super or supra sensory experience that can see the bigger picture and not be swayed by the opposites anymore. This is the concept of dvandva anabhigata. Patanjali tells us, when you perfect asana, dvandva anabhigata, tato dvandva anabhigata. You transcend the dualities. And people are like, oh, so I have to push myself into an asana and then what happens? I don't feel pain. No, it's not about that. You transcend the dualities when you are in the state of asana. And in case you were sleeping, because it is the morning, and I just realized that I have people who are waking up at 4 a.m. just to attend this session. My gratitude to you. I don't think I would wake up at 4 a.m. to listen to somebody else. So that's the best compliment you can get when people wake up at 4 a.m. in some parts of the world to listen to you. And not only they're waking up, the body system is waking them up on their own. No alarm, anything. Isn't that amazing? What type of connectivity we have. But coming back, what we need to realize here is that this is a perspective that transcends the dualities. That is what Patanjali tells us. Tato dvandva anabhigata. And for Patanjali, each of the angas, and remember they are limbs, they are component, integral limbs of yoga. He doesn't really call them steps. This concept of the angas as steps is a more modern interpretation that leads to a sense that something is more superior than the other. They are just anga. Anga means a limb. It means a component. And just as you have the hands and you have the feet and you have the head and you have all the body parts, they are anga. So when Patanjali talks about each of the anga, be it yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These ashta angani, these 8 limbs, whenever Patanjali talks about them, he is not talking about them as something you do, but as something you become. They are states of existence. Each of them. A yama is a state of existence. A niyama is a state of existence. An asana is a state of existence. Pranayama is a state of existence. Now, initially there is the doing part. And I've talked about that before with regard to asana. Initially in asana, there's a lot of doing. Turn to the right, put your hand down, look up, twist. There's a lot of doing. And that is the part where it is a pose. Asana as a pose is when there's a lot of doing. Turn right, correct yourself, pull your chest up, tuck your chin in, tuck your tailbone. All this is the pose part. Then what happens? When you go into the pose, you start to posture energies. This is where the culturing process occurs. You start to culture yourself. Culturing means growth. Now we talk about cell culture, horticulture, agriculture, vermiculture. It means it is their growth. You are enabling the growth of a better you to manifest. You are your own lab and you are your own experiment and you are culturing yourself. And that happens when the asana is now in a state of posture. So you are posturing energies. You are posturing attitudes. You are posturing a state of being. And then you go into the state of being, which is asana, which is poise. And this is a term that was given by Dr. Georg Feuerstein. And I just love that. I just love that, poise. Because asana as a state of being is poise. And that is why an asana comes from asi, to be. When you are in that state of being. Okay. So Patanjali's definition, when he says in asana and he says that he says what happens? Tato dvandva anabhigata. You transcend the dualities. What it means is not that if you do 10 asanas every day, you will transcend the dualities. It's not that. That the practice of asana enables you to attain a state of sthira and sukham inside. Sthira is when you are stable, like sthita. You remember Sthita Prajna? Similarly, sthita, here you have the sthira. It's the same concept here. Sthira means to be established steadily, and sukha is in a state of ease. When you are established in a steady state of ease within yourself, it doesn't matter whether people like you or not, you are not swayed by it. It doesn't matter whether people give you bouquets or brickbats, you are not swayed by it. Someone was writing me yesterday and they were very happy that I still read books and that I was reading the step by step and all. And they said, many people would think you were touched by the blessed feather and so you didn't need to do all of this. I was touched by nothing, okay? I was given a lot of good spanks and very good, tough, disciplined upbringing by my father and by my mother. Okay, this feather touch is a very false illusion people have. Everything has to be earned. Okay, you have the genetic structure, you have the environmental support, but you have to make the efforts. It's about you eating for yourself, you drinking for yourself, you sleeping for yourself, and you thinking for yourself, and you living for yourself, not egotistically, but for the self that is there within you, that Atma. And what is very important is that when we make the effort, the benefits are going to come back. They may not come the way we want or as soon as we want them, and so we get a bit depressed. I also get depressed, we all get. So people used to always think that, oh, Swamiji would have given you special teachings and special techniques. Nothing special. That is the secret he taught. That you have to work for yourself. You have to transcend your own limitations by opening up to the universe, and then it flows. That flow that occurs when you lose yourself. And I think through the music I've experienced it the most, where I lose myself, and in losing myself I actually find myself. It's a very beautiful experience where you get out of this limitation that binds you. And this is why we need to understand, when we are talking of asana, it is initially something you do, but then it has to become something you are. Tattvam asi, thou art that. That asi, that to be, has to manifest. And that is why when Ramana Maharishi tells us Summa iru, he is not saying shut up. He is saying just be. Summa iru. Summa means still. Iru, be. Be still. That is what Sthita Prajna is. That is what Sthira Sukham is. Just be. So in asana, what is happening is you are learning to be. The initial part is the doing. I'm not saying you don't need it, because you have to do it. It's like the abhyasa has to precede the vairagya, no doubt about it. The activation has to precede the relaxation. The spanda needs to precede the nishpanda, no doubt about it. But at the same time, we need to understand, all the time spanda, all the time activation, all the time push, 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 and you are not going to be a balanced human being. Being a balanced human being is Sthita Prajna. And that Sthita Prajna is such an important component when we transcend the dualities. So when we are talking about polarity, we in the Anuloma Viloma, we are putting into practice the concept of Sthita Prajna. And that is where I've been building this whole talk this morning too. Anuloma Viloma is not just a relaxation practice. Yes, you will feel relaxed. As some of you said, when you were doing the Savitri and this, a Sahaja Kumbhaka, like a Kevala Kumbhaka glimpse started to occur, where you didn't need to breathe at all. You felt there was a cessation of breath. That is a glimpse of what pranayama is. Pranayama is not a breathing exercise, and may I never catch you saying that. Please do not ever say that, or gangster yogi will come and really give it to you. Huh? Don't bring that guy out. Pranayama is not a breathing exercise. It's like asanas are not physical exercises. Please, please. Pranayama is a state of being where you have transcended the need to breathe. Let that sink in. Shwasa prashwasayor gati. The patterns of breathing in and out, vicheda, you have transcended them, you have spliced through them and gone beyond the need to breathe. That is the state of Kevala Kumbhaka. That is actually the state of pranayama. So many of you have been writing to me saying that, when you are doing the Savitri pranayama and doing the Anuloma Viloma, you have found a spontaneous cessation of breathing. You don't feel like breathing. It's a beautiful experience. Enjoy that experience. Because you're not holding the breath saying, I'm not going to breathe, I'm not going to breathe. No. Just, you don't feel the need to breathe. It's like when you are with people who you love. You don't feel the need to be something else, right? You can just be. When you love yourself, you should be able to just be. Let that be the message for today. Anuloma Viloma is not just a relaxation technique. It is not just a breathing technique. It is not just a visualization technique. It is the practical implementation of a concept of transcendence of the dualities into a state of harmonious balance, a Sthita Prajna manifesting, a Samabhava manifesting, a Samatvam manifesting. That is what it's all leading towards. Enjoy that state, and the more you enjoy that state, the more you're open to it, the more that state becomes who you are. Not that we are going to ever be perfect, because if we are perfect, we are not here, okay? So the very fact we are here means we are not yet perfect. But let's keep working towards it, okay? Be blessed. Hari Om Tat Sat.